URCD Keys is the best source for genuine Windows 10 and Office Professional product keys that work the first time, every time. Get 20% off normal prices using our discount code BST for Byte Size Tech and the link in the video description below. 2021 is almost at a close, 2022 is almost here, and I have made a decision after careful consultation with this side of my brain, and our lovely fans on the Tech Deals Discord, linked on the bottom of the video description below. So I've given some thought as to what GPUs I want to keep in our collection for 2022 because we've got so many. I've been struggling to put together a GPU comparison video. The chart gets ridiculously big. There's so many cards to test, and it becomes difficult to test older low-end cards versus modern mid-range cards versus high-end cards because the VRAM sizes have changed tremendously in the past couple of years. Performance has changed dramatically in the past couple of years. How do you put a GTX 1050 versus a 1650 versus a 3050 onto a chart? The 1050 has 2 gigs, the 1650 has 4, and the 3050 has 8. Putting aside the performance issues, what games will run in those VRAM amounts are massively different. And then here's something that isn't talked about very much, but I've noticed in my benchmarking so far this year. Because as I've tested various things, and I recently did a bunch of game testing on the Ryzen APUs, and so I paid a little bit more attention to VRAM usage there. One thing that I have noticed is that if a game runs in 2 or 4 gigabytes of VRAM, it doesn't need a new video card. If you've got a 10 series or maybe an early 20 series, it runs fine. If it needs more VRAM, then you probably need a video card upgrade. I still have my 2 gig 1050, the 4 gig 1050 Ti.
Yeah.
I've got a 1650 non-super.
Yes.
GDDR5 edition.
You do.
A 1650 non-super GDDR6 edition. Yes, they made both DDR5 and DDR6 of that.
Correct.
I have a 1650 super, which is actually not even the same chip as the 1650. It's actually a cut down 1660 non-super Ti, which is really weird, but it is because it actually has the new NVENC encoder in it, whereas the non-Super 1650 has the older series, which is kind of a weird cut to make, but that's where it is. All those cards have 4 gigs of VRAM. If you've got a game today, and you've got a 1650, a 1050 Ti, a GTX 970 or 980 with 4 gigs of VRAM, and your game doesn't need more than 4 gigs of VRAM, how about an RX 480 or 580 with 4 gigs, because they made those?
They did.
You don't need an upgrade. You're fine. If you're playing at 1080p high detail and your game plays on those cards, you don't need to see a comparison with how much faster modern cards are. You don't need to see a 1050 Ti versus 1650 Super versus 3050. Because your 5-year-old games play just fine. If you're playing Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, for example, if you're playing Battlefield 1, for example, those all play fine on those older cards. You don't need an upgrade. And if your question is, yeah, but what if I want to play at 1440p ultra-wide and ultra-detail and upgrade to Battlefield 2042? Well, then 4 gigs VRAM won't be enough, and then you don't need to see a benchmark comparison because you will simply need a new video card due to a lack of VRAM.
You need a whole new computer.
Say that louder for the people in the back.
You'll need a whole new computer.
It is entirely possible you'll need a whole new computer because if you've got a 5-year-old computer with a 4 or 6 core chip and you want to play Battlefield 2042 in 128-player online conquest mode, it'll run on an older machine, but holy crap, it's awful. So, yeah, it's remarkable. You need a new computer.
The right tool for the job.
Very much the right tool for the job. Now, I did a video a couple years ago. I'm actually very proud of that video, and I probably should have done more of it, and maybe a few other configurations, but, time and attention, and I got pulled away. 4K gaming on a 4 gig GTX 1050 Ti.
I remember that.
AAA 4K gaming. 60 frames per second. Yes, Virginia, it is possible. Game selection. Grand Theft Auto 5 will run at 65 frames per second on a GTX 1050 Ti. That game first launched in 2013. I think people missed that detail.
Wow, that's 8 years ago.
Where's our GTA 6? I know. So game selection's everything. I recently tested Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. It's actually a remarkably attractive game, even with the details turned down. Mm-hmm. That will play on any of those four gigabyte cards without complaint. You don't need a 30 anything to play that. You want to play Call of Duty Vanguard? Yeah, maybe you should upgrade. So it all comes down to your use case. If you're playing 3, 4, 5-year-old games, your 3, 4, 5-year-old video card with 4 gigs of RAM is fine. Testing those 4 gig cards on modern games is pointless. Fun fact, some recent benchmarks and videos have come out regarding Halo Infinite and how in certain modes, not just the 4 and 6 gig cards are struggling, but the 8 gig cards are struggling.
The 8 gigs?
The 8 gig cards, there are places 8 gigs is no longer enough. And if you run it on a 10 or 12 gig card, it isn't that the RAM compression doesn't work and that swapping to RAM doesn't work, but the frame pacing suffers and the quality suffers.
Makes sense.
And so Halo Infinite wants more than 8 gigs on your video card, which is one reason why the 3080 with 10 gigs was insulting, because that was dumb. And the 3080 Ti with 12 isn't much better. RX 6800 with 16 gigs of VRAM for the win.
Exactly.
So, yeah, don't expect a lot more cards with less than 8 gigs tested in the future. Unfortunately, they do the job. I'm not saying they're obsolete, they're not. I'm not saying they're bad cards, they're not. I'm saying you have to play games that were designed for them, and those aren't today's games. Except like some free-to-play games and some browser-based games and low-end stuff. Sure, I mean, there's very budget games designed to run on potatoes that will come out today that you can play on them. But then you don't really need to watch tech channels to upgrade, because those games will run on your phone. In fact, there's quite a few games on the PC these days that really are mobile games that they've just ported to the PC. Clash of Clans, Call of War.
Raid Shadow Legends.
Oh, God, don't even start with me on that.
New sponsor.
No, never. Absolutely. If you ever see me take a Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship, shoot me now, because that's just... That was... No. And if I ever tell you, yes, join my clan, you'll get 200 gold and a 30-day protective shield.
It's an imposter.
Oh, God. Anyway, yeah. So 8 gigs is the new minimum, and hopefully we can step it up from there.
So you're going to retire some GPUs?
I am actually going to retire a bunch of them. Which ones aren't set yet? We might do a separate video about that and talk about why each are being retired. That might have been your idea.
My idea?
That was your idea.
I don't have any ideas.
I remember. She's actually the source of more brilliance than you guys all realize. In any case, let me know what you think in the comments below. URCD Keys is the best source for genuine Windows 10 and Office Professional product keys that work the first time, every time. Get 20% off normal prices using our discount code BST for Byte Size Tech and the link in the video description below. $15 gets you a Windows 10 Professional OEM key that is a real product key, activates directly with Microsoft, use it forever as it links to your Microsoft account, and it works through reinstalls. Get a full copy of Office 2019 Professional Plus for about $50 that redeems at setup.office.com using your Microsoft account. It also works forever through reinstalls. We have been using URCD keys for almost 3 years now and recommend you do so as well.